There's some changes to where you can find specific high-end weapons, right?
So, of course, it's like all the weapons are available at all gear score levels, but there are some limitations to that depending on the source where you get them from.
Okay.
Like vendors, we scale those with world tier. So everything that was on vendors, you can get at every level depending on what tier you are.
Okay.
Stuff that drops in open world will also just scale depending on the tier that you are. So a 33 or a 229 Caduceus is a thing now.
Yes.
But so is like a 182 Showstopper, for example.
Oh, okay.
So that used to be a 229 only.
Yeah.
The thing is that we tried to keep the sources intact when we introduced the world tiers.
Yeah.
But for example, challenge mode for main missions is locked to tier 2, right?
Sure.
So that means like the Showstopper is still behind challenge mode. So that one won't be available in tier 1, which is why you can't get it as a 163. But from then on, you can get it at any gear score. So, but the swapping around of the sources has to do with the blueprints, because blueprints do not scale, right? Like any other blueprint in our game is like, this is the fixed gear score thing that you make. Yeah. So we, instead of like offering a lot of blueprints for those as well, we try to like just redistribute the weapons that affected.
Okay, because I think you talked about Tenebrae earlier,
yes,
right?
Yes, it should be Tenebrae, Valkyria, and Liberator.
Okay.
And so we didn't put in the patch notes what the new sources are for these named weapons. Okay. 2 of them are quite easy to find because they're on the Phoenix credit vendor. So you will see that as soon as you open his...
So the Tenebrae and...
No, the Valkyria and the Liberator.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And the Tenebrae is somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
Somewhere else. Oh. So whoever finds it first, let us know. Right. Send us a screenshot or something. Tell us where you got it. Yeah. One more thing about that though is like the one remaining blueprint is the Damascus, which is the blueprint that you get for like completing General Assembly for the first time. Okay. That is still the only weapon that you can craft through that blueprint, and it's only available at that level.
Oh, okay.
So
there won't be a 229 Damascus.
Not yet, no. Right. Maybe we can look into that for the future.
But so it's the only exception, it's the only weapon, but okay.
All right, so the next thing was, I'm not really sure if the way that it was being explained was a little bit odd for me personally. Maybe I was just staying up too late trying to watch these videos and edit the videos, but the way that it kind of came across was, I'm not sure if the blueprints, if they were talking about the blueprints for the Valkyria, the Tenebrae, and the Liberator are going to be resold at 229 depending on the world level, or if those weapons are just going to drop. Maybe I misunderstood that. I'm not 100% sure, but it sounded to me like the vendors were going to get new blueprints of 229 versions of the Tenebrae, the Valkyria, and the Liberator. Now, with that being said, please understand that depending on, well, I guess not even depending, it doesn't matter what world tier you are in, you will be able to buy blueprints or find weapons, named weapons. We're talking about named weapons here. You're able to find named weapons at that level. So if you want to have the best of the best Liberator or Caduceus or anything like that, Hungry Hog, then you're going to need to play in the highest level that will get you that 229 gear. Now, if you're playing at a lower level, you may find the blueprint or you may be able to buy it from a vendor, but it will cost the exact same price as if you had gotten it from a higher ranking or higher world level vendor. So please keep that in mind. If you are starting off or you're not quite to the highest level, you may want to wait or hold off on buying blueprints for named weapons until you get to the highest level, and then you can craft your 229 version of a named weapon. So be careful about that. That's something really important that I think everyone should know about and try to remember. If you're already at the top of, of the world tier, then you got nothing to worry about. You're good to go. So keep that in mind if you were not.
So skills. So there was a lot of discussion also regarding skills about the approach with the diminishing return curve and how intense the diminishing return was. So we made some tweaks to the curve now based on your feedback as well. And we basically changed it so that we still want skills to be useful even if you don't really spec in electronics, and that has always been the case because we don't want you to completely disregard skills, but therefore we want to reward players who invest in electronics heavily. We want to reward them more. So we changed the diminishing return curve to make it more interesting basically to invest in electronics, which means you're going to be able to go even further with your skills by investing in electronics. What that means though is that we had to do some tweaks with some of the skills to make sure that they don't scale like incredibly and you don't end up with very OP skills. So there's a bunch of rebalancing we did on skills based on that. I will not go through that. I invite you guys to have a look at the patch notes. It's a lot of small tweaks here and there. It's nothing drastic. But yeah, just have a look there. But know that, yes, now you're going to be rewarded more by investing heavily in electronics, which is going to be nice. We also looked at the skill haste issue. We know that there was a video by Marco about issues with skill haste where you could have like a 2-second cooldown on the first aid and these kind of things. We put some safeguard there. Unfortunately, that means we have to put some caps on skill haste. But yeah, that's the only way to make sure that it doesn't get completely broken.
All right, so skills have seemed to been adjusted. They seem to have been reworked. I remember watching Marco Styles' video. Shout outs to Marco. I love his work. I think he makes really great videos. Shout outs to him. His skills video that he put out not too long ago, he was basically talking about the diminishing returns for skills is not very good. And apparently the developers agreed. So they decided to make it a lot more rewarding to invest in skills and make it much harder to find effectiveness in poor optimization and I guess not really putting much into the skill stat. Now, with all of that, some skills have gotten capped. It had to happen the way that they worked it. I'm sure they just haven't had time to kind of go in and fix that. That seemed like probably it was something that they already had checked off on their list, but now they had to backtrack, kind of go back, fix it and adjust it, and they're testing it on the PTS to see if it is something that people feel comfortable with and does it work. We will see. Again, I have not played the PTS, so I'm waiting for the 1.4 when everything is final to start going back in and making builds and looking at weapons and really evaluating and kind of having a real sense of opinion about the game. I know a lot of people are making videos about builds and the PTS and all this stuff, but just remember, none of that is final. You can make all the build videos you want about a build that vanishes into thin air. It's not cement yet. And if you are someone who is really interested in this stuff and you're like, yeah, I really want to get that and I want to make this build, remember, nothing on the PTS is set in stone. So wait. Just wait. If you're a YouTube content creator, have fun. Good on you. Go for it. Make all of these things. Hype up the game. Make sure that people get interested and see what possibilities are there at the moment. Hopefully they will transition into the 1.4 and hopefully we will have some variety in the builds and hopefully variety in the combat. Again, all of that remains to be seen until they decide to announce what will officially be in the 1.4 patch and when it is coming out. That's what I'm waiting for.
The first one, and that's a big one because that's a big discussion we had. And yeah, there are a few disclaimers there, but open world named NPCs, we changed the respawn cooldown or the respawn timer. It was at 24 hours and we know that a lot of comments were made on that. We changed it to 4 hours.
Nice.
So the NPC cooldown has been shortened to 4 hours. I think this is really great news. A lot of people who are strictly into PvE content will now have a way to farm much more reliably and faster, and they can make efficient routes to do so. Personally, I would have liked to seen it down to maybe 2 to 3 hours, just because 4 hours, yeah, it's okay, but who's really going to be farming bosses for 4 hours or 2 hours even, so much once they have a lot of the good gear that they want? I think after the first week to 2 weeks, people are not really going to be farming the bosses, NPCs in the PvE world so much. And I think having a shorter time for some of the people who really don't have a lot of time to do really hard missions and stuff like that, if they're solo or for whatever reason, having it so that they can easily have access to something every couple of hours, I think is a good thing, because more than likely the gear that they're going to get will change anyway, and most people will be gearing up really fast once 1.4 drops. So 4 hours is a nice step in the right direction, but I wouldn't mind seeing it be even shorter, because I'm pretty much sure that most people won't be so hardcore on farming bosses in the NPC world. What do you guys think? Is 2 hours better than 4, or do you think 4 hours is a nice happy medium and it fits exactly what, I guess, the rate of loot that we are going to be getting a little bit better? What do you think? Leave a comment section. I'd love to hear it.
Next one. And that one I think you can talk about. Mission bosses, underground bosses, and underground chest will now only have a chance to drop purple instead of high-end and gear set at normal difficulty in tier 1. But yeah, so just to make it clear, underground chests especially, and also underground bosses and mission bosses, but the biggest contention point was the underground chest, will only have a chance for purple in normal difficulty tier 1. Yeah. Normal difficulty over tiers, it's going to be guaranteed high-end or gear set.
Yeah.
And hard difficulty and challenging difficulty tier 1, also guaranteed high-end and gear set.
Yeah.
Okay, so purples are no longer going to be a thing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I've been tired of seeing purples drop while playing anything. It's really good to know that they're only going to be in the tier 1 world. And after that, once you hit tier 2, tier 3, you don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. That is fantastic news. Really happy about that.
Talking about bosses, so the mission and incursion, so what we call the mid bosses, which are the 4 horsemen, what's their name again? Raptor and Domino in General Assembly. I don't know if there are others, but like the named bosses you get during a mission or during an incursion, but are not the end boss of this mission. We made a change last week where they had the chance to drop purple. That didn't go very well, so let's talk about it.
Nobody wants the purples. No. Yeah. I think we don't consider these guys actual bosses, right? They're they're named guys, but they're not the end of mission bosses. So that's why we give them different loot, because for the guaranteed stuff that you get from an activity, we only take into account the bosses and the rewards, and the rest is bonus.
Yeah.
So that's why we didn't want to guarantee you high ends from these guys. So they had a chance for purple and a chance for high end, but it was a guaranteed drop.
Yeah,
sure.
But that's changed now, where we changed the guaranteed drop to crafting materials. So it's always something useful. And if you get the additional actual item drop, it will be a high end.
Nice.
So,
Okay, that's cool. I like that.
So you won't see, basically you won't see purple from them, then you will always get your crafting material, and then if you get an item, it's going to be...
exactly. Yeah.
Now, one other thing that kind of irked a lot of people is that a lot of the mini bosses that they used to farm to get drops from are now only going to drop crafting materials. Crafting materials are pretty much going to be, what people use to break down to start doing more with blueprints, but are people going to shift back into crafting, or are they just going to wait for the loot? Remains to be seen.
crafting, someone was said crafting is not great right now. And we know this, like crafting is something that we want to work on in the future. 1.4 doesn't address crafting in the way that we want it to, but in the future we will take another pass at crafting. There's plans for crafting coming.
Yes.
But not in 1.4,
Yeah.
so stick around.
Yeah, it's definitely something we'll look at.
Now, the other thing about crafting is 1.4 did not touch upon crafting and the mechanics of crafting. So don't get your hopes up and expect that crafting is going to be revamped or better. It probably won't. So just kind of keep that in mind. Crafting is not going to be the new thing to get the best weapons like it used to be.
Division Tech has been removed as a requirement from high-end and gear set blueprints.
Yeah. So
Why? Why did you do that, Nikki?
Well, because we moved all these type of blueprint from Dark Zone to the blueprint vendor in the terminal. And we always had the rule that if you buy a Dark Zone blueprint, then Division Tech is required to make that thing. Now that is not actually a Dark Zone blueprint anymore because you can buy it in the terminal.
Okay.
So that's why we removed all the Division Tech requirements from those blueprints.
Okay. Are there any Dark Zone specific blueprints now, or are they?
Throughout the leveling game, there are still blueprints that you can purchase there that have Division Tech requirements. Yeah.
Cool. But in the end game, you don't.
No, they're all moved to the blueprint vendor in the terminal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that means that
Good job.
Division Tech is kind of like, what's the use for Division Tech now?
So you can of course still use it as a conversion.
Yeah. I like that.
So you can turn it into whatever. So that's the main purpose right now.
Yeah.
And for the future, we're looking into how we can find other functionalities for it. Yeah.
So basically we know it's kind of useless now, but
Oh man, Yannick goes in. About time he grew a pair and stuck it to the man. I'm happy to hear Yannick go in and call it like it is, or call it like he sees it at least. Have an opinion. I would love to see Yannick and Hamish actually disagree about things. I would like to see them have a little more banter and actually have an opinion about things. I think this would be a lot better than just Hamish constantly saying cool. Like I want to know, like, how many times can you count that he's gonna say cool or that's cool in like the state of the games? He just says it for like no reason. It's like, oh, I had water today. Oh, that's cool. like every time everything is cool. But to see Yannick go in and call something out, I really enjoyed that. And big ups to you, Yannick, if you ever see this video. That was a good look. Now getting back into crafting and these materials that are dropping, Division Tech is no longer required for blueprints because the blueprints from the Dark Zone, from what it sounds like, are now going to be moved into the base. Now, I kind of heard there's supposed to be a few things that are still like blueprints that may be in the Dark Zone. I'm looking forward to seeing how that works. It will definitely change the good or garbage video series that I have going on the weekends. So we'll see how that goes. But Division Tech no longer being part of that system and only being now used for changing into materials, I think is a good thing. Having Dark Zone Tech be the kind of universal thing that you can use to craft is pretty cool. That way you don't have to worry about, oh, I don't have this. Then if you get some DZ Tech, or if you just go play a mission, kill a couple mini bosses within that mission, you probably get something and you'll be able to do what you want. Having a reliable source to get those materials or to get those things quite easily, I think is pretty cool.
bug fixing. Okay, I'm at the bug fixing. We're almost there, guys. What is this one? Fix the bug where a whip weapon could be crafted MG5. Yes, RIP MG5.
MG5, you didn't see anything. Like there was never an MG5. It didn't exist, for all intents and purposes.
It's not meant to be in 1.4. It's not balanced for 1.4. So yes, it was completely OP. We know that. It was never meant to be there to begin with. So if you recalibrated firearm, stamina, or electronics on your 1.3 characters, it's now going to be scaled properly to 1.4. Good bug fix there. We fixed the bug with the skills stuck on cooldown.
Okay, on the live game?
Yeah, the one that is on the live game. It's fixed in PTS week 3. It was
okay. All right.
So yeah, that's a good one also. So the issue where when you would be stacking support stations and all these kind of things in Dragon's Nest and you ended up with your skills being kind of broken, this is fixed.
Nice.
All right, so on to some of the bug fixes and some of these bugs that were kind of in the game. They slipped into the game. This, I guess it's called the MG5, was a weapon that was completely broken and not supposed to be in the game. It got in there. If you used it or if you had it, let me know in the comments how was it and what was it. I have no idea. I stay as far away from the PTS as I can because I want to have my own opinion about 1.4 as it drops, and having these kind of this could have been or this was awesome feeling about it. I kind of feel like it taints what 1.4 is actually going to be.
There's a little bit of confusion around sealed caches, right? You can now purchase them.
Yeah, there should be sealed caches in all currencies.
Okay.
So on the weapon and gear vendors for eCredit, the Dark Zone guys, and Phoenix Credit. Yeah.
Okay. But there's a little bit of a difference between the Dark Zone ones and the other ones?
I think the eCredit and the Dark Zone ones are quite similar content-wise. You just pay for them in a different currency.
Okay.
And the Phoenix Credit ones are more specific.
Okay. In
like,
what way?
As in, you can buy one that actually says weapons and gear. So you can, like, it's less random. So you can pick what pool to roll from, basically, if you buy one of those.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it should have like weapons, gear set, and mods.
Nice. All right, that's cool. So like you can actually, if I'm being a little bit pedantic, but you could technically just gamble like for mods.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, like the prices are much lower than for an item there. So because it's still like a gamble of what you're gonna get, and these caches scale with your gear score. So they will be available like at every world tier. Prices will not go up because you get the same stuff always from it.
Nice.
So it's always there. It's cheaper, but you never know what you're gonna get.
So now on to something that I think is very interesting, and that is a way to spend your money. So now we have sealed caches that can be purchased from different vendors, and pretty much they can be bought from almost anywhere is what it sounds like. And I think this should be interesting. Now the thing to take note of is that there are going to be two almost kind of separate versions. There's going to be the Phoenix Credits version, and then there's going to be the version that you can buy with DZ funds or with the basic credits. Now the DZ fund and basic credits version, it's kind of a mixed bag. Whatever you get from that cache, it could be armor, it could be a weapon, it could be whatever. Whereas the Phoenix Credit version caches, you can select specifically what type of thing you're looking for. So if you're looking for, let's say, a chess piece, you can buy the chess piece cache, sealed cache. Or if you're looking for a backpack, you can do the same thing. You kind of get what I'm saying. So this is a pretty cool thing that you can do. Also remember the DZ fund and the regular credits one. Those are cheaper in comparison than to the Phoenix Credits version. And I think this is kind of a good thing because people were always sitting on lots of money or playing the game and having lots of money or having too many Phoenix Credits but nothing to really spend it on. So now you can buy something and hopefully get something that you like. And if you don't like it, you can either trash it or re-roll it. So it might be a good thing. I don't really see it being kind of the best thing, just because I still have this feeling you're going to get so much loot that it's almost going to be redundant. But I'm waiting till 1.4 to actually see how all of this stuff plays out and how it works before I make a real final opinion about it.